I say it all the time, do you want to be that person in the barbecue, sitting in the barbecue at the corner in a chair at 70, someone bringing you food, or do you want to be swinging your grandkids about playing football with them at 70? That's the choices you're going to make at 40, 50, 60.
Welcome back to the Andy Ramage podcast. Today's conversation is with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Andy Garwood, who after 7 years alcohol-free has lost 77 pounds in weight, is fitter now in his 60s than he was in his 30s. This is a great conversation between two great mates about all the joys and the wins of being alcohol-free. And if you enjoy these conversations, make sure to follow along and please check the show notes if you want to come and train with me to transform your relationship with alcohol or to become a coach to help others do the same. All right, let's get into it. All right, Andy boy, welcome to the show, Mra.
I know, I'm impressed.
It's cool, isn't it? This is like, but you're seeing up the wizard's sleeve right now, and I'm looking forward to this. Although we've just set all this up, and I've noticed some people, because it's in my house, are in the garden, and I've got a feeling they're about to chop down a tree, and not with axes, with probably chainsaws. So it could all go pear-shaped in about 10 seconds. Yeah, we'll see. We've just had a lovely walk, which you and I love to do, over Thorndon.
And we hugged some trees, and they're going to cut one down.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, well, they're trimming it back rather than cutting it down. And we've both, I think, since we've gone alcohol-free, found this love of being outside, movement, especially. And even if we begin there, it's a big part of my story. And I know it's a huge part of your story. I always come to it that, where you were or you began, you were, how many, 5.5 stone? What's that? How much?
Yeah, so 77 pounds. I'm 35 kilos lighter than when I started this journey 7.5 years ago.
35 kilos lighter.
7 newborn babies wrapped around me.
Yeah, and as someone that lifts weights, I can really, I know exactly how much that feels, 35 kilos. It's unbelievable to be carrying that extra weight with you, but that's now gone.
Yeah.
And as you step into your 60th year, looking younger and healthier than ever, I mean, you are glowing, even just looking at you.
I feel the best I've ever felt, my 61st year, because I was, so I've done my 60 years, and I feel fitter than I was at 40, 30 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that is what a brilliant thing to be able to say. And as do I, right? Stepping into my 50th year. Yeah. You're like 10 years ahead of me, looking like a young Rob Lowe, as I always like to say. But it's so true, like when we reflect of where you've been. And I met you very early on in your alcohol-free adventure. Yeah. In fact, we walked the same walk we did this morning on your 1 year no beer anniversary.
We did, and it does seem a while ago. It doesn't seem 7 years ago, or 6.5 years ago. But yeah, it's amazing where that time's gone. Like you always say to me, people overestimate where they can be in a year and underestimate in 5. And I've underestimated where I've got to. I really have. I am a different person in a different place with different people. Everything about my life has changed because I've removed one thing.
And take me through that. What does that look like at the moment? And we had a lovely conversation that you're in a really nice, probably the best space you've been in for many, many years now. So what does that look like? What is the sort of, not the finished article, but...
Well, we never finished. I'm more comfortable. My mainstay is my building company. And as I've said many a time, I was a grey era drinker. I never had a day off work. Kids was always first at football. I worked 5.5 days, though, in my business, firefighting, stressed. I didn't know I was stressed, but I was. 5.5 days in it. Now I work 2.5 days on it, earn more money, doing the same thing, 2.5 days, half the time. Gives me time to give back, coach, do this other stuff, working on myself, to walk, to run, getting to that age now where... It's almost like a working semi-retirement. I can have days off when I want if I schedule them in. I can take a week off when I want. My 2 lads are teenagers now. My youngest, my older 2 boys are growing up well. As I spoke to you earlier, my oldest is now nearly a year alcohol-free, which brings a lot of joy. And anyone with children will realise that my mum's 92. She still treats me like I'm 15. We care for our kids for the rest of our life, and when you care for someone from worried about them from 14, 15 to 32, and now they're, if you want, for a better word, getting their act together and remove the booze. It's beautiful. You're not waking up in the morning wondering if you're going to get that phone call or what they want to borrow. And all these things are coming together, and I've just had a fabulous week and a half celebrating my 60th. And, we've done some great things, over that time. And I've got a big adventure for my 60th coming up in January to Patagonia, which walking has become a big part of my life.
Yeah, and we're going to come back to that, because I just want to come back to something you said, because you're a brilliant example in my life of someone that has inspired loads of people to come on this journey with us. And I always give the example that I was in the gym one day, Christian Daly's gym, and I'm like the alcohol-free guy in there. So if anyone in the gym is alcohol-free, he makes a beeline for me and he's like, "Oh, you got to meet Andy."
Yeah.
And you know where I'm going this. And he introduced me to this girl one day, Kat was her name. And she was a year alcohol-free, looking amazing, feeling amazing. And so I start to have the conversation about how it's going and getting all those wonderful benefits and whatnot. And I said, "What inspired you?" And she went, "Well, I bumped in to this old friend of mine, Andy's his name. And he'd lost all this weight and he looked amazing. And he was getting all these things done and his life was being transformed. And I was just so inspired by it that I decided to take a break for 28 days. And here I am a year later getting all these rewards. And we live in a similar area.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd take a punt. And I said, "It's not Andy Garwood by any chance, is it?" And she just stopped in her tracks and went, "Yeah, it was Andy. Do you know Andy?" And I was like, "Yeah." And what's beautiful about that story, you didn't know.
I didn't know till you phoned me.
You had no knowledge of that. And I say to a lot of the people that in the alcohol-free space, the best thing you can ever do is show up and shine your message. And it's inspiring people that you'll never, ever know. And you would never, ever have known that potentially had I not told you. And it's such a wonderful example of your courage to show up and shine this message that's helping people way beyond than you'd ever realise.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I mean, we showed up for this. It was a weekend of running where someone had to run 6 miles all the time, and the girls was doing it. Kat was one of them, but on the night shift, running 6 miles around these woods, they had to have a man with them. So I showed up to help out. And when she heard I was showing up, she must have thought, "How's this fat get going to be running 6 miles?" And obviously I showed up as a different person. So I think that's where it come from.
Yeah,
well, it is.
did.
When we speak now, she only texted me yesterday about how it's beautiful with her 3 boys, Now I actually got a text from her yesterday because something she'd put on her Instagram. And this happens all the time.
Yeah.
It only happened to me on Saturday. I done a little post on it on my socials. I was sitting in the sauna at David Lloyd. There's about 3 guys in there, another guy and 2 ladies. And this guy leant over to me and said, "I've seen you in there about 3 times. He said, "I've got to say something to you." And I thought, "Yeah, go on." He went, "I'm 50 days tomorrow."
Yes.
I said, "What?" He said, 49 days today. So I'm 50 days tomorrow. He said, "I've followed your Instagram." He said, "God," and all these conversations went about and everyone was interested. And I said, "How old are you? Do you mind me asking?" He went, "I'm 32. I went, "That is beautiful." I said, "You are going to have a beautiful life to find it at that age." He said, "I'm off to Tenerife next week." He said, "My boy's 2. I think he said his boy's 2. I said, "How do you feel?" He said, "I feel really comfortable with it." He said, "I think I'm going to be fine." He said, "Done all the stuff since I was 14, 15,
Yeah.
And that, it's moments like that. And you think, I wouldn't have known about that.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And, the other people latched on as well. And I need to do this. But someone to say that to you again. And we do not know how many times.
Oh, exactly. And that magnified reach. But come back to that in your immediate circle, your son, who I think is 32.
32, yeah.
As well, has just done his year. Or he's about to come up to his year.
Yeah, in October, yeah.
I mean, what an amazing... again, way to role model that behaviour. You've given him a completely different outlook, a different set of beliefs to see his dad make this transformation that must have had a big impact on his decision to go alcohol-free.
Yeah, and it's not something that I could preach because anyone with children will know if you try and preach, they're going to go the opposite way. You just got to show up. And I used to get, "Oh, it's all right for you. You give up at 52. I'm only 30, when he'd have a mishap. But, eventually... it was last Christmas. He said, "I've done 2 months. I'm going to get through Christmas." And, he did, and he went with his mum. He refused. You've got to do what's comfortable for you at the time. And he refused. I don't feel comfortable going to the pub with you on Christmas Day. And we he felt a bit, but he made the right decisions and he's fine with it now. But you've got to do what's comfortable with you. You've got to have your boundaries. Your journey is your journey. It's no one else's. You can't people please. And I hear it all the time. I'll do it this weekend because it's so-and-so's birthday. You've got to have your boundaries and to live this life.
Yeah, and we spoke about that a bit as well on our walk this morning, that a lot of people go alcohol-free and that's all they do.
Yeah.
So they just rip this thing out of their life that was a big sort of, glue, is in your mind all the time. It's how you socialise, how you deal with stress, whatever it might be, the reason that you turn to alcohol in the first place. And then don't fill it with anything. And I think we've both been really fortunate that we've filled it with new activities and connection and joy. And I think that is the key to it.
Of course, it's finding your tribe. What as humans, we all want this connection, and that's what people lose. I hear it all the time. I've lost my connection. I'm lonely. After a year, I'm bored. You've got to work on yourself. When I say working on yourself, I don't mean go and sit in a Buddhist retreat for 7 days, but you've got to, find other things to do. I was lucky enough to be part of the movement we was in at the time. It was all, and anyone can go online, and that's how I started online. And then you found out, I met you in Manchester. I'd come to this London Power Up when I was about a month alcohol free. Couldn't talk to anyone. There was microphones like this being thrown around the room, this fluffy microphone. I thought, if it lands on me, I'm going to leave. I was that full of anxiety.
Yeah.
I come back and I was walking around Salford Quays. I'd got a plane up on the September, so I was about, 5 months. 3 months, 4 months, and you bumped into me and said, was you at London? And that's when I found out you lived down the road. And we've got friendships since then, obviously, but then you find out so-and-so lives round the corner and so-and-so lives round the corner, and there's sober Essex, there's sober North, there's sober whatever. There's people, it's a growing tribe, and find your connection online first, but there will be connection offline and it will come, And it hasn't even got to be sober connection. It can be different clubs. You could join running clubs, cycling clubs, crochet clubs. You're always going to get your people who don't drink at these places, but you've got to fill that void. You can't just sit there and think, I'm bored. And it's a shame that you want to try and help people. They've got to fill that void for themselves. And it might be study, it might be anything. You've got to immerse yourself and use that time.
Yeah, that new energy and the space that you get and the clarity to find new tribes. And coming back to what you touched on there earlier, walking, hiking has been a big part of your adventure, as it has been for me. I think there's something in that. What do you think it is that people take a break from alcohol and then suddenly, like, walking's always been a thing, right? People can walk all the time, and obviously people still walk and hike and they still drink, right? But it feels like there is definitely a lean towards nature and being outside when you take a break from alcohol.
I just think it's our natural thing as humans, to want outside air. We're made to do our things. We're made to walk uphill. There's something about getting to the top of a mountain when you're alcohol free, I think. It was something that never interested me one little bit because it didn't involve drinking, I suppose. That's all it was. I thought the only way up a mountain was on a chairlift. Why would anyone walk? I'd go skiing every year, and the hikers, the green movement, would moan about the chairlifts all around, the mountains and the soil erosion. There was more, which I didn't believe, there was more hikers in the summer than there was skiers in the winter, which I never believed. But of course there is now. I just had a beautiful weekend, long 4 days away in Chamonix with the dry guys, with the off the sesh guys. Chamonix, I'd been to once, can't remember it. Can't remember Chamonix. Went there with the drysters. It was beautiful. What a time we had. We paraglided off the top of mountains. We hiked. What a beautiful place. And there's more hikers in the summer than there is skiers in the winter. And my story was that I was coming up to a year. My big goal that, was on your coaching to set my big goal was my triathlon. But on the back of that, the following week was some of our mastermind group was climbing Snowdon. I thought, I'll have a go at that. Never gone up a mountain in my life apart from on a lift. And it was quite good, quite enjoyed it. I had the wrong boots on, I had corns, I had blisters, but I enjoyed it. I thought I liked this. And then it transpired from there. After about 3 years or so, I thought, what can we challenge next? And I put a post out onto our alcohol-free group, who wants to climb Kilimanjaro? And straight away got 8 people from around the world.
I mean, that is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you can, and I think that just speaks volumes of the alcohol-free movement as well, that people are willing and courageous enough to show up to things on their own and do things differently. And winding the clock back a bit to Snowdon, I did Snowdon with an alcohol-free group, and it was about halfway up, I had this lovely realisation of, 1, that I'm really enjoying this, 2, there's a shared goal between us to reach the top.
Yeah.
But when I come back down, it's not going to be all about drinking.
Yeah.
And it was such a relief. It was like a relief that I hadn't connected the dots, because I was so used to doing anything like that would have involved the walk up and really the rush back down to get to the bar to drink, to sort of celebrate the day. And there was that really nice warm feeling of, I'm not going to have to go through that. We can just enjoy the glow of this experience. And I haven't got to go through all the silliness of half the group going to the bar and getting on it and me feeling left out. It was beautiful. And actually, I remember another thing about that trip, and this shows, the level of engagement. Our group were laughing the whole, like, we had a brilliant crack between us. And there was a complaint about the noise, because everyone was up giggling and laughing, and again under the assumption, I'm assuming, probably think, I've got a load of drunk lot are in having so much fun, laughing their heads off all night, and there wasn't a drink between us.
Yeah, we had exactly the same thing in the YMCA, exactly the same thing, and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it, and then we went off, and none of us had met. How courageous is it for ladies and men from around the world? We had Washington State, Washington DC
on their own.
Yeah,
as in
everyone singly. Flew from different parts of. None of this. Oh, we're all going to rock up at Gatwick, and we're going to have a pre-meeting somewhere. We met online. We was all online friends. We trained online. We posted how we was training.
You'd never met in the real world?
in the flesh. Never met in the flesh. And Colin from Calgary, he'd flown a different way, but really and truly, most of us first met at Amsterdam, which was our transit to Tanzania. We'd flown in from Washington State, Washington DC, Scotland, Manchester, London, Luxembourg, and where we went off, and we've become the best friends ever since. We still chat all the time. It makes that bond. And again, the same happened 2 years later with Everest Base Camp. This year it's Patagonia, and it's what do you want to do with your life? Go and see these beautiful places. This is, what I say, living a life beyond booze. You've got to get out there and do it.
Yeah, and that's so important, that one, physically being able to do it, which, again, you're not carrying all that extra weight, and you're fit as a fiddle into your 60s, which is a wonderful thing, right? Because, again, your story and journey was leading you into a place you've never been climbing mountains. You would not have even been physically able to, even if you'd been mentally able to, in the sense that there's just not the time or the clarity or the energy to do a lot of these things. I think you just bumble through life, whereas now you're really experiencing the richness of life in such a different way, connecting with different people, achieving goals and dreams that you never thought were possible. But since you've written them down, probably, how long ago did you write a lot of your goals down?
Oh, well, probably the first year, 6 years ago.
And pretty much all of those goals have been ticked off?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do, and I encourage some of my coaches to do, is, try and write 50 things down for your bucket list. That's hard, you might get to 20 odd quite easy, but you can always add stuff, and it might be very small things, or it might be simple things, and a lot of them are about where you want to see, we're lucky enough to be on this planet once, and we want to stay fit and healthy, and see us, we're visitors. It's grateful to be here and see what we can see while we're here.
Yeah,
that's my outlook. And like you say, being fit enough to be able to do it. People, so many people say, "Oh yeah, all right, Gaza. You might add a couple of years to your life. What's the point? I'm here to enjoy it." Let me tell you, it's not about adding years to your life. It's adding life to your years. I say it all the time. Do you want to be that person in the barbecue, sitting in the barbecue at a corner in a chair at 70, someone bringing you food? Or do you want to be swinging your grandkids about playing football with them at 70? That's the choices you're going to make at 40, 50, 60 is how you're going to be at 50, 60, 70. And luckily enough, at 52, it proves it wasn't too late. Our body can reverse. I know it did with you, your story with your heart as well. And our body can repair. And, one of the things that probably stopped, I never really thought I'd stop, but in the back of my mind all the time, if I ever did think about stopping, it would be, well, what's the point? I've drunk for 35 years. What's the point? That was always one of the things that always did sort of stop me if I ever thought about it.
Yeah, that sort of, you can't teach a old dog new tricks mentality.
And you can't repair what you've done. All this damage for 35 years. What's the point of stopping?
It's like that. It's a sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
That I've put all this effort into this thing, this big drinking career I've had. There's no point stopping now, which again is such a closed mindset, which is wonderful. And I think that's why it takes people like yourself, or even in some of our group, people coming to it now in their 70s and 60s. Yeah. I was in a Dryad Live just recently, and I was talking about age and us just warming up, and I didn't know the type of ages that were in the group. People coming out 72, 73, 75 in the group, deciding and being courageous enough to stop drinking, to put life into their years, as you said, which is brilliant. That's it, isn't it? And I sat down with Christian Daly once, and he had that whole theory around, you can really limp out of life. So you might technically live till you're 80 years old, but you're 60 to 80, you're slowly degrading. You're not as mobile as you once were. Maybe those last 10s, you're confined pretty much to a chair or whatever it looks like. So technically and chronologically, you've lived to your 80, but 20 of those years were not a patch on the years before, whereas actually I think if you can really look after yourself, you might be able to that's what I want to do. You want to go full power to 80 and then just drop off the end of a cliff and sayonara, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's hope you go to full pelt to 100 and drop off the end of a cliff.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. But I feel like I am raring to go. You think every year, this can't get better, but it does.
And what advice?
I'm still just warming up.
Exactly. What advice would you have given to your younger self, your 30-year-old self?
What advice? That's a tough one. Well, knowing now what I would have given myself, I just knocked the booze on the edge. I've started writing sort of memoirs. It might turn into a book, I don't know yet. It could well do, but I've been reflecting a lot the last month, around the last 2 months, quite a poignant time at 60, and how I got into drinking at school and the scrapes we had and close shaves, and probably, I always say, oh, well, perhaps I should have done it till 40 and then stop. But even then, I can't regret what I've done, but I certainly would be telling myself, you do not need drink to enjoy your life. It's going to hold you back in relationships, in business, in health, in mindset. You're never going to reach your full potential all the time you're drinking. Even if you only drink 1 day a week, you're never going to reach your full potential. Look, we're never there to preach to people. I'm there to, we're both here to tell them the facts and help people who want to stop. But there's a lot of people who are going to be happy languishing their way through life, having their pints every night or their wine, and they're happy with that. But the ones who want to go and get it, the cool kids, you find they're the people, the ones who decide to take this break and this less trodden path to removing alcohol. They're the ones who want to go and get life and see this rich life we can live.
And actually, and it's so interesting, one of the ironies of all of this, because that is wonderful advice, is that both of us see it, that alcohol was a gift to us.
Yeah.
Is the irony, because it woke us up. It woke us up before there was a big crash and burn moment, but it woke us up to actually the path that we were on, which was the standard path, the well-worn path, the well-lit path, wasn't filling us up, wasn't allowing us to reach our potential. And actually that wake-up call, our relationship with alcohol, and then removing it, was the gateway to our full potential, and that's why you're thriving and optimizing now. So I think it's one of these great ironies. Yes, whilst I wouldn't encourage people ever to drink, and they're much better off without it, in some ways it's been our greatest gift.
Exactly what I was saying earlier. It is. It's the greatest gift because I've just come alive. I'm a different person. It's, I treat my soberversary more important than my birthday. It's as simple as that. It's the day I was reborn. It's simple. It's more important to me.
And on that reborn, how do you feel like spiritually connected to the world? Has that has that changed? Has that evolved?
Yeah, I might be a bit more woohoo, and you're getting closer to the end, aren't you? Life's time speeds up, I think, and there's, say about writing a bucket list, there's so much you want to do, but yeah, I feel more protected. I think you spent all them years when you was drinking trying to probably prove yourself, whether it was business and turnover and all through life, just trying to prove yourself. And I think you just remove the booze, and the way I've described it is you try and improve yourself. You've gone from proving yourself all your life to now, I don't need to prove myself. The Rolex is sold, I don't want the designer shirts, It's about improving yourself, I've got nothing to prove to anyone. I'm just enjoying life. I'm, just cool. Everything's just right. My kids won't say I'm cool. My kids won't say I'm cool, but
you're cool.
I just feel, whoa, I'm just like, chill out, Dad.
Yeah, but it's lovely to see. And I said it earlier, and those that are watching this, if you listen to this on YouTube, you're glowing. You've got a nice bit of a suntan going on, which always helps a little bit. But you're genuinely glowing as a person versus when I first met you and you were really new to this.
Yeah.
And you're obviously a lot heavier and you looked like a different person.
Yeah.
And to see you now stepping into your 60s.
I was a different person. I felt like a different person. What you see on the outside with the glowingness, the eyes, the body weight is nothing what goes on in there, is it? It's that changes in there. 100%. What on earth was we doing to ourselves, That's what I'd say to me. I was like, what are you doing, Andy?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're on self-destruct. And from 30 to 40 to 40 to 50, it was just,
and the
trying
turnaround
to prove that I could drink and still function.
Yeah. So let's go forward. What does the next 10 years look like for you?
Who knows, maybe taking a bit more of a back seat in my building company now. My son can do more there. I've got a good middle manager as well, and transition over to a bit more giving back and coaching and, finding, it's about finding purpose in this life beyond booze. That's what we were saying, filling this void. What is your purpose? And we spoke a lot about it with your retreat going on, and, it's people finding out where they want to go, but first of all, you've got to find out who you are. And I truly didn't know. When I look back, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who Andy was for 52 years. Well, certainly from 13, 14 to 52. And it's, you will find yourself.
And I would say that is the greatest gift you can ever, or the greatest discovery you'll ever make is your true self, your authentic self. And I think that's what you see hopefully in me and in you and many people in the alcohol-free space. They've stepped back into their authentic self.
Yeah.
And so many people never ever make that discovery.
Yeah.
They never get there. They always think they were this version that alcohol creates.
Yeah.
Whether after it's a couple of drinks or the recovery mode of that, which makes them a lesser person, or this fake version. And they lose themselves. They never know who they really are. So I think to make that discovery at any age is an amazing one, because so few people do.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. Finding out who you are, and then you can find out where you want to go. And now you're going to get there, like you said. It's as simple as that. But so the next 10 years, I don't know how it's going to look. I still want to run. There's a lot of places I want to trek to. There's a lot of things I'd like to, create communities, whether I'd leave a legacy, whether I write a book, I don't know. I'd like to, it's becoming a good part. I'm enjoying, it's almost a bit of meditation to be able to look back and start penning your memoirs and how you've changed over the decades. And, we spoke about wisdom a lot, didn't we? We can teach all these things and know what's right and wrong, but wisdom we can't teach, we can just give it back. And that's a beautiful thing. I've worked on myself. I've worked on some midlife stuff with the MEA, which is one of Chip Conley's groups in America. I've been on business events as well for a year with another coach, and it's working on yourself. But this wisdom, what we've learned, once you start writing it down, the mistakes, or not mistakes, learnings, we never call them failures. We don't use the F word, do we? So it's the learnings and the wisdom. You can almost tell sometimes how people are going to go,
Yeah.
Show me your 6 mates and I'll show you what your life's going to be.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
And it's passing on that wisdom. And I think that is your legacy, is you're stepping into your full power. I say this a lot, that I really believe as we get over 40, there is that sense of contribution, of adding value to the world. Because I think too often people fizzle out far too soon. And the reason they fizzle out is because of it's alcohol. Yeah. And I believe that to be true. They don't have the time, they don't have the energy, don't have the health, don't have the fitness, and they limp out of life, give it back to the kids, when the kids need wise elders in and around them, in their communities, in their families, that are living a different life. And I think you're doing that so wonderfully. And I'm really excited for your future. I know we'll be back here on your 70th when I'm 60.
Here. Yeah.
Who knows where we'll be, but we'll be somewhere having a very similar enriched conversation that's full of new adventures and new learnings, and we'll still be fit and we'll still be healthy and we'll still be contributing.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited about life, and I wouldn't have said that at 52. I wasn't excited about life. And like you said about rushing down a mountain, to get a drink, and it was the same everywhere you was. 16th hole at golf, rushing the last 2 hours. Everything was about getting back from football, getting in the pub, getting back from work. Kids football on a Sunday, when we're going to get in the pub Sunday afternoon. Everything was about having your next drink.
Yeah. What a change. What a transformation. Yeah. Andy, you've been brilliant as always. We'll do this again many times before your 70th, but happy birthday.
Thank you, mate.
Congratulations. You're looking amazing. I'm excited for the future.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm humbled to be on here.
Let's do this.
Thank you.
Wasn't that a cracker? Andy and I, the AA, as it were, coming together to connect and sing about all the joys and the wins of being alcohol free. Hopefully you enjoyed that episode. Hopefully there was lots of motivation and inspiration in there. Do check out the notes below if you want to come and train with me in any shape or form. And I shall see you pretty soon for the next conversation on the Andy Ramage podcast. Let's do this.